Big Ed here, gang. Guess what? Yeah, I never thought I'd say this, but we're not really going to talk about pedals today. We're not. Because I've been experimenting this last week. I never thought I'd say this, but I've been experimenting with recording on my iPad with some apps. And a new device has made that possible. I'm going to show you a picture of it in a minute because I'm going to have to do some nifty editing. And if you watched any of my videos, that's not my forte. I'm barely doing this. But the XTone Pro, which a lot of people have talked about on the web, and they're mainly using it into a guitar amp app, the Bias FX, which is really cool. But I wanted to know how I could use it, use it with the Bias FX, but use it with other apps in a mixer that also can incorporate other effects that I'm fond of, like sound-on-sound delay, and some of my favorite eventide effects. I've tried to recreate somewhat my Lexicon PCM 42, which is a sound-on-sound pitch delay. But I found some other apps that are cool on their own. So I didn't even need to go any further than my iPad Mini 4. This app that you're seeing right here, oh lovely, is the AUM Mixer app. And so I have 3 channels, which are all going back via USB into the XTone Pro. My guitar, my lap steel, is being plugged into the XTone, and the sound is, the fidelity is incredible. And more importantly, which wasn't the case in the past, super low latency, like I'm shocked. And then that XTone, besides having a 1/4 inch in and a 1/4 inch XLR combo jack in, so it can take microphones. I haven't done that yet, but it's got stereo 1/4 inch out and a stereo summed XLR out. And it's got pedal switches. Now, so what did we do with the pedal switches? Well, this app right here is by Audio Damage. Sorry for the glare. That's called Enso by Audio Damage. And it's a ridiculous looper. And if we click on MIDI, you'll see that I've got MIDI mapping going on. So the XTone Pro, when I click those switches, it does all these commands. Amazing, right? So that's really cool. The only thing I should say, by the way, before we get any further, that the Enso and Audio Damage makes another plugin we'll be showing, an AU, which is AU for the iPad plugin, is that you need to be running, meaning you need to be in play or record. I'm not going to record, so I'm just going to put it in play because the sound is going out the XLR to my Pro Tools interface to my monitors here in my studio, so I could record into Pro Tools, which is my preferred format, or you can route the bottom of these mix channels to Cubasis and use inter-app audio to record in Cubasis, and they have a free version. I think you're limited to like 4 or 8 tracks or something like that, but you can route the AUM mixer to Cubasis and record in your iPad, but I'm not going to do that because I want to have more control. I have thousands of plugins in Pro Tools, so I would just go from the XTone Pro out into Pro Tools. So that's what I'm doing. But again, the ENSO and the Replicant, which is the other audio damage plugin I'm using, you just have to be in play. It doesn't change anything. It just makes them active so that you can switch in and out. All right. So, in fact, I'll show you. I can show you before I switch to the floor view. Maybe let's get rid of the glare a little bit. Now let's watch when I hit the first switch on the XTone. Oh, wait, I'm not in play. Now we're in play. See, I'm recording. Now I'm just playing. Now, stop. Clear loop. Amazing. All got triggered by the XTone Pro on the floor. So since this is difficult to hold up and talk to you at the same time, I will put it down. I should show you. So Bias FX comes free with this, with the XTone Pro. So I've got a free, it's a sucky way to show this. You can tell why I'm like, not Mr. Video here. This is a free, there we go. That's a free, I guess it's like a tube screamer type thing. And I've got that very lightly with 3.8 drive. The mix is very low because then I've got the free Bias FX. And I've got a bunch of effects running in that. There's a reverb at the end of the chain there, right? So I've got an amp, I've got a range master. There's a couple things down here that are grayed out because they're just not active, but you could make them active with the XTone Pro. The switches can be assigned. And I've got a compressor, an EQ, et cetera, et cetera. And then that, when you touch back up here, you're going back to AUM. So that's just one channel. I've also got a reverb. I've got a limiter on that channel because I was peaking a little bit yesterday. I was peaking. Second channel has a reverb. Is it a reverb? Yeah. Oh no, it's Replicant. So that first one is Replicant, Tornado. Man, I'm not doing this well. Here, I'll do this. I've got a compressor also by Audio Damage, right? I think the compressor's free, actually. Really good compressor, a reverb, and then I've got a couple things that are a couple other plugins that when you pull a plugin out, it's out of the chain. And then the last bit is I really love the Eventide Mangled Verb. And I've got a compressor, the Audio Damage compressor after that. And then, oh, and I've got an EQ. I found a free EQ that actually, you know, the LRCS EQ, which is really great. Really, really great. So how does it sound? Well, let's find out. I didn't even tune my guitar. It's not going to matter because the way I play. Let's turn this up. So the Bias FX is not, the amp is not doing a lot of that. It's only like slightly, just a little on the edge of dirt, and the Tube Screamer's pushing it a little bit, but I'm getting a lot of that crunch from the mangled verb, which I've not, it's about a quarter down in the mix from where my basic channel is. In fact, I can solo my basic channel. Pretty good. Pretty good. So that's soloed, that first channel. This is the second channel, which is even further down. There's no amp on that channel. That's meant to be clean, just mixing in some of the effect, which is, the replicant, which isn't in use right there. But if I put it into play, now you'll hear the replicant. That wasn't me stuttering, that's the replicant. Cool, right? And then, I'm getting some radio stations into my speakers. That doesn't happen as often as it used to here in Nashville. Anyway, so this is adding a sound on sound, a 5-second delay with a stutter effect from the Eventide multi-tap. And that'll go on for a while until I slide it to the left and turn it off. Like that. Okay? And then the third channel is, so the reason, and I'm doing this because the reason I didn't have the first channel super dirty, because I don't like super dirty anyway, but I had the amp on the edge of breakup, just being pushed a little by a tube screamer that was only 37% in with very light drive, because I really love the Eventide mangled verb. I use it all the time. And having a third parallel channel, so these channels are all parallel and you can blend them in the mixer, allows me to have it be part of my tone, part of my sound. And so here's the Eventide channel. Dig? And then you put them all together. We'll put our glitchy things in. So You can mix things in. That's going to fade out for a while. Turn my volume knob down as much as you want. You can have that blended all in. It's really, really cool. The sound is amazing. I mean, amazing. Like, I tried to recreate this setup in Ableton with Enso because I got so in love with this app. Let me turn this off. I got so in love with this Enso looping app being controlled by this that I got in touch with the guy at Audio Damage because he had done a video where he was using it in Ableton. It won't. So let me just say, before I go any further, so I tried to get this all to work in Cubase because I use Cubase as well. Cubase didn't like the drivers or something because for PC you have to download special drivers for the, for the XTone. You've got to download special drivers for the XTone for PC. You don't have to for Mac. So this all might work on a Mac computer, but Cubase did not like it on a PC. Pro Tools definitely didn't like it on a PC. Even though I downloaded all the right drivers, Pro Tools crashed. At least Cubase didn't crash, but Pro Tools, my preferred platform, crashed. But Ableton didn't. Ableton recognized it right away, so you can run the XTone Pro into Ableton and MIDI map everything, which took me a couple days, and going back and forth with the guy at Audio Damage to get the Enso working. For the Enso in Ableton, you've got to use VST2 because there's a problem with VST3 in Ableton and the MIDI mapping. But VST2, which all comes when you buy it, when you download it, VST2 will work. You got to create a MIDI channel, have that MIDI channel be from your XTone. You have to have it go to an audio channel where you have Enso on that audio channel, and then you have to have it go to Enso 1. These will all be obvious in the MIDI channel you create in the I/O of the actual channel after you've turned XTone Pro on in the MIDI preferences of Ableton. And then you just press Learn. It'll say waiting, and as soon as you press the knobs, the switches on the XTone Pro, they're then mapped to whatever that command that you want to do. And this will go for any other command, I assume, in Ableton as well. So in Ableton, I had different effects that I could use because I have all these plugins. So I actually could use a PSP42 Lexicon, PCM42 plugin and a few other things, but of course I don't have bias effects in there. I have the Line 6 Helix native, and believe it or not, I love Line 6. They're my boys, and I love native, Helix native. I use it all the time, love it. But I couldn't get the same sound. Pretty close, pretty damn close, but not quite the same sound as I'm getting here with this. So in the future, I'm taking this with me to gigs. I'm gonna have a small pedal board. I mean small, 4 pedals. I'm gonna take a Hosta, a Flower Pedals Hosta, which is like a wah filter pedal, Red Panda Tensor, an Eventide H9, which is gonna sort of take the place of my Drolo Stamen. I love my Drolo stuff, but I need the H9 because it has other pitch and modulation things to, if I'm only going to bring a small board with 4 pedals, I need that. And then the 4th pedal, because there's really nothing like it, is the Pladosk back from. So I'm on a pedal board nano with those 4 pedals going into the XTone Pro. And that's it. The guitar goes right into that small pedal board. That small pedal board goes right into the XTone Pro. The XTone Pro goes right into my iPad 4, my iPad Mini 4, which is important because I learned today they all have different levels of RAM, because I've never used apps on the iPad, and I just got lucky that an iPad 4 has, you know, it's pretty set up for another year or two. The iOS, I'm running like 13.5 or whatever the latest is, and it's got a pretty decent amount of RAM, and I've got 128 gigs space, so I got plenty of space if I wanted to record on it, but that space will be gone quickly if you do long improvisations like I do. So I'm just lucky that it's powerful enough and up to date enough to do all this stuff. So that's something to consider as well. This definitely won't work on an iPad mini 1. It might work on a 3, but it'll definitely work on a 4 and of course iPad Pro and all that stuff. But so I'm going from that small pedal board right into the XTone Pro. The XTone Pro is going right into the iPad mini 4 via USB into a camera kit adapter, which they give you. It comes with the camera kit adapter. And the AUM app is very inexpensive, and some of these apps are free. The most expensive ones are the Eventide ones, but even though I own them all, I bought them anyway because they're awesome. And there are some really, really great apps. If you want to know some of the ones I'm using, just, post below and ask, and, I'll be happy to tell you to list all of them. But I went through quite a lot. But these audio damage ones I'm big fan of theirs, and the guy Simon really helped me out with the Ableton thing to get that working. When I got that going this morning, I was like, whoa, that's insane. So I could, if I didn't have the iPad, I could go on the road with just my computer and do this. And because the audio is coming out of the XTone Pro, I don't have to worry about the computer, right? It's like, it's not taxing that really, like you would if you were recording. All right, so we'll end this where I'll have to move the camera because, like I've said before, I'm really horrible at this stuff, but I will move the camera to show a picture of what's going on down here. You've already seen that and you've already heard it. So. Crazy. It's awesome. All right, so last shot will be of the board. Till next time, I know I probably could have done a slicker video, but that ain't me. I just wanted to talk to you about this because a lot of people have been showing the guitar with the XTone Pro just running into the bias and how many cool sounds you can get, and that is true. But I want you to know that you can also be super duper creative and expand your horizons by using apps in another platform in your iPad, such as AUM Mixer, and trigger loopers and other things. And the other reason I wanted to do this before I go, because all the videos, and I watched about a dozen of them, of people talking about recording apps on an iPad or, mobile device, were keyboard stuff. There was nobody, not that I saw of the 10 or 12 I watched, who was using AUM and all these other apps I'm using with guitar. So I wanted to show you that all those things are cool, but now they can be used with the XTone Pro. And I think professionally and reliably, I've been running this all week like this, and I'll continue to run it for the next few months since COVID-19. We're not going anywhere, right? Because this is June 28th? We're not going anywhere. So I'll keep running it and make sure it's reliable. One more thing I want to say is, watch your CPU. Right now I'm at like 67. I don't know how much higher, and I'm running a lot of stuff, but I don't know how much higher in AUM with all the plugins you want to go than that. When I got above 80, 82, it started getting glitchy. So just keep that in mind. But other than that, you know, a lot of these plugins also are way cheaper on an iPad than they are for your computer. So this is like a new way to look at things, and it's a highly mobile way. So instead of me bringing this, you know, 18 by 12 pedal board or bigger on the road, I'm now going to take a pedal train Nano, programmed my H9 to have all the things that I couldn't live without, going into the XTone Pro, which you'll see in a minute is super small. It's like the size of a, you know, one of those big delays. It's, you know, it's about that, you know. I would say it's like 7 by 5. I mean, and that's it. And both of those, so you put a pedal train Nano in its bag, strap it onto your guitar, because, you know, it's got those straps, right? And you put the XTone in your backpack and you're done. Or for me, I'm going to put them both in my backpack with my computer when I get on a plane, whenever that is again. You know? So I think I covered it all. Yeah. So again, if you have any questions, ask below. And if you want to know the apps or any other stuff, I'm happy to help. See you next time. Peace. Okay, I didn't want to forget. There's the XTone Pro. You can see it with my little markings for what I'm using it for with the ENSO device. We've also got a gain and a volume. That's mainly for when you're using a microphone with it. So yeah, so 2 input, 2 output plus an XLR, and it sounds flippin' amazing. And then this is the little pedal board I've been playing through with it. But frankly, I haven't even used this stuff yet. But I will. I'm definitely going to record my next album with this setup. My next free improv lap steel album. So you'll be able to hear it in action. And that's it. Oh, and by the way, this is bus powered, the XTone Pro. I've got a one spot powering it, but that's mainly for when I disconnect it from the iPad to keep it powered up. But you don't need 9-volt power with it. The iPad actually, or your computer, bus powers it. So it's just amazing. All right? So until next time, see ya.